In today's tutorial, I want to show you how to make clickable prototypes better in Figma by using components. So let's dive into it. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate how this works in this workspace here. So we have a sign up screen and we have our button here, get started. And this is what we're going to use to create a component, which is going to allow us to make a better looking prototype. So what you want to do is create it in a frame. And then we're going to create 3 different instances of it. We're going to have a static, a hover state, and a pressed state, and you can name those that way. So on static, we're just going to have it the way it is, just black color. And then on hover, we want to add a little bit of flare to it so that you can tell you're hovering on it. And for this, I'm just going to add a random kind of wavy shape that we're going to add a gradient to. So let's just find some cool looking colors that work together, and I'm going to make this kind of flowing gradient. Maybe a purple. Let's go to effects and add a layer blur now. But honestly, it doesn't really match the vibe of the design here, so I'm going to go more blue with the gradient. Again, this is just styling what the hover state will look like, so you can feel free to design your own variation, whatever works for your product or your design that you're working on. Let's increase this blur, decrease this here. And then what I want to do is on this state, I want to add a drop shadow so that it gives it a little bit more look, that it looks like it's kind of hovering. So the way I like to add these drop shadows is with Beautiful Shadows. This is a plugin. You just drag it down here and it'll change the way that how much dispersion it has. And then we can just go here and change the color. And I would highly recommend using this plugin for Beautiful Shadows. We can change the strength to 20% there. That looks pretty good. Then you just press apply and it applies these 6 shadows. So very easy and definitely worth it. So now we have our static button, we have our hover, and now let's create a pressed state. So I'm just going to copy this, and for the press state, what I want to do is just make this a bit more subtle, like it's been pressed down. And we're going to make this a little bit, yeah, like that. And then maybe for hover, there's this very small, it's hardly visible kind of stroke outline, and we can make it a little bit more visible here. Just going to make it white, and then we're going to play with the opacity. Okay, so now that we have our 3 buttons, the next step is to create a component, and you can do this by selecting all 3 of them. And we're going to go up to the right here, and you're going to see create component, create multiple components, or create component set. We want to create component set, and we're going to name this primary CTA. This is our primary button. And now, because we named them already, we're going to have this property 1 equals static, property 2 equals hover, property 3 equals pressed. And if you're familiar with components on the right here, we can just swap between these by just selecting them. So now that we have that set up properly, we're going to go to static, and we're going to replace this button with our new component button. Now we're going to go to the prototype tab. From here, we have the button selected. We're going to go to interactions. You're going to click plus, and then we're going to do while hovering, change to hover, and we're going to do smart animate. And now if we go into our preview prototype mode, we can see if it works. So as you can see now, because it's a component, it's telling it, okay, if my mouse interacts and hovers, we're going to switch it. So that's perfect. And now we just want to add one more state. So we select the button again in prototype mode. We click plus, on click, change to pressed, and smart animate. And now let's fire up our prototype again. Let me just reload it. Sometimes it acts a little finicky. So we have our hover state. Also, if you're having issues like I am here, where it's not showing up, sometimes you need to reverse the order. So if hover is above, you want to place click above. And now we reload it again. So we have our hover state. And then when we press, you can see it gets darker there for a second. You can also change this to while pressing. So now when we press, it kind of gets dark there. But because the smart animate, it's kind of bouncing back. So just a little bit of tweaking to get it right, but that's essentially how you make the prototypes better. And then obviously what you can also do is say this is going to be the login screen, and then we have our next screen. We can also do new interaction, on click, where is it at? Navigate to, and sign up. But as you can see, having some technical difficulties with the prototyping. So we have our hover there, and then when we press, it'll take you to the next page. So that's how to use components for buttons, and you can apply this for anything. You can use it for these input fields. You know, you can have a state where you hover and it gets darker from lighter. You can even imitate typing. You press it and it changes to, you know, a typed text. This little eye icon for everything. Essentially, it's a lot easier to do components than any other way. I hope you enjoyed that video and learned something new and valuable. If you want, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see in the next videos, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.